The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
Welcome back to the Brandon Peters Show. I'm Brandon Peters of the Brandon Peters Show. We're closing the week with the song, and this is a part of our Summer of 82 at 40.
The Summer of 82 at 40.
The music video series, returning for his round on the roulette wheel. See, I went there with that. The creator of Sparkshooter. He writes for the Saturday Evening Post. He writes for Graphic Policy. He's written comic books aplenty too. His name's Troy Brownfield.
Thank you, Brandon.
All right. So Rocky 3 was one of the summer's biggest hits, still, as we're talking, in the top 10 for the summer box office. And here, Survivor is making a climb to number 1 for their song Eye of the Tiger, which took a while to show up in the charts. After Rocky, I figured that would build up to the movie. But this was a mega hit from Survivor. It's on the soundtrack to Rocky 3. It appeared on their album, also called Eye of the Tiger, that dropped 2 weeks after Rocky 3 had opened in theaters. The album also featured American Heartbeat and The Only One That Matters. The album reached number 2 on the Billboard 200 and went platinum, selling over 1 million copies. The version on the soundtrack for Rocky 3, my research says, was actually just a demo version of the song. But the song held on to number 1 for 6 weeks and was the number 2 song for the year of 1982. Troy, do you know what was number 1?
Was it not the holdover of Physical from 1981?
That was the number 1 song the week I was born as well. So this is the biggest song of the summer and kind of really the biggest song of 1982. It had the second longest run in the top 10 at 15 weeks behind John Cougar at the time. Mellencamp's Hurt So Good. So Cougar tops Tiger. And which I believe we're talking about some point in years Hurt So Good. Its top 10 run is tied with Physical and Another One Bites the Dust, which we'll talk about the funny part about that in a sec, as the longest run for a number 1 song during the entirety of the 80s. 82 had some massive hits this year, and I'm not talking just for the year, for the decade. This song went double platinum, has over 4.1 million digital downloads as of 2015, so I'm sure it's over 5 million now.
Yeah.
Eye of the Tiger.
Okay.
I'll get to its awards in a sec, but its numbers are crazy.
Yeah, as the kids say, there's a lot to unpack here.
And it almost didn't happen, but we'll get to that. Hang on. All right, so go ahead.
Okay. Just to speak to the massive stuff. In a previous episode, we alluded to the fact that, MTV launches in August of 1981, and it is not covering the country yet. But MTV is driving what radio stations are adding in terms of songs. Even if MTV isn't anywhere, it's influencing the music. There's really sort of 3 things going on at the same time. There's the influx of a lot of British acts that already had music videos because it was already a big thing in England. Going back to the Beatles, you couldn't make it to Top of the Pops, you sent a video. So there's all these bands. So the Human League, Spandau Ballet, Flock of Seagulls, etc., they're all coming in like that. You have some established regional rock bands, the Survivor, Survivor from Chicago, Journey, 38 Special, Texas, you know, you've got like the established strong following. They put a performance video together or something, they're getting on MTV, and then, you know, your solo artists. This kind of thing is becoming this mainstream of MTV, but as the songs get added to MTV, radio stations in freaking Iowa are adding them. Because, you know, they might not have MTV yet. I lived in Terre Haute, Indiana. It did not get to Terre Haute for quite some time. So there were these influxes, but radio was already reflecting what MTV was playing. And so when Brandon talks about 1982, there's these massive, massive songs. Everybody is adding them in terms of radio. People are hearing them on the radio all over the place. If you don't have MTV, your primary delivery system is still radio, or maybe solid gold, or maybe talk shows that have musical guests. And so Olivia Newton-John was a superstar. So Physical was kind of preordained to be a big hit anyway. But then when you have every radio station in America playing Eye of the Tiger, when you have it in movies, when you have it on nascent MTV, man, you have set the stage for zeitgeist. And this stuff is not just a little big, but really, really big. And but by 1984, when the coverage has increased a lot, that's where you have, you know, if you watch Thriller come out in 1982, Thriller sells consistently at 82, 83, and 84. And the Madonnas, the Springsteens, the Loppers, all the Princes, all this stuff that you say is like the 80s, it's the combination of all this stuff we're talking about. And it's reaching unprecedented numbers of people, just in terms of seeing the stuff every day. You know?
Yeah. And Survivor here, like, it helps. That's with Rocky. Rocky 3 is the second highest grossing film domestically in 1982, only losing to E.T.
Which is might as well be number one, right?
Right. Yeah, you might as well be number one. And that definitely helps. Like Chicago, this summer gets their only number one hit being part of a movie that nobody remembers, but they probably remember the Chicago song, but they credit that movie with helping push them through with it. And we're in July now, so I think we've talked about Summer Lovers with Daryl Hannah and Peter Gallagher, which had a banging soundtrack, and that helped push it. This song, like Survivor, a lot of people mistake and think it's Rocky 4. It is used in Rocky 4, but it started here. A lot of stuff, people who aren't Rocky heads like myself seem to think a lot of Rocky 4 stuff is they're actually remembering Rocky 3 stuff too. The movies are very similar. They're very Rocky 1 and Rocky 2 to each other.
Survivor does have two hit songs in Rocky 4, Burning Heart and Hearts on Fire.
Right.
Both in Rocky 4. Which, you know, that'll hit that, you know, misremembering.
Right.
Too.
Well, here's the thing too. Stallone intended for the song for Rocky 3 to be Another One Bites the Dust by Queen, but Queen said no. So he commissioned Survivor to do this song, and I'm surprised he didn't force Frank to sing it, them to have Frank sing it. But hey, that happens.
Frank Stallone.
You guessed it, Frank Stallone.
Frank Stallone.
So this song wasn't intended to be there. Survivor, they probably got to see a cut of the movie to write with it. They were going to call it Survival. They were like, you know what, that's stupid. Just call it Eye of the Tiger. Survival by Survivor.
Yeah, but it is one of the great self name drops.
Oh yeah,
music. I mean, you've got, you know, Everybody Wanting Chung Tonight. You've got, you know,
Metallica dropped their name in one of the Kill 'Em All songs, I believe. It's one of the funniest ones that you'd never imagine dropping their name in a song, but I believe one of the tracks of Kill 'Em All, Metallica drops their name on it.
Yep, call 1-800-MIX-A-LOT. I mean, you know, it's much more common in hip hop, but you know, Survivor frames it in such a way that it's not obnoxious.
Yeah.
It's not like, you know, the Wild Wild West, the Escape Club mentioning themselves. You know, last known Survivor. It is endemic to the song.
Mm-hmm.
And they somehow managed to do it and not sound like assholes. And it's kind of incredible.
It is. And you know, it's funny because this wasn't supposed to be here, and Mega, like it, you heard the numbers. It won best rock performance by a duo or group with vocal. It beat, for some reason, Asia's Whole album was nominated in that category. The Jay Giles Band Centerfold, Kenny Loggins and Steve Perry had the song Don't Fight It, and Frank and Moon Zappa had Valley Girl. It was up for Song of the Year, but lost to Willie Nelson, always on my mind. Ebony and Ivory was in there. Toto's Rosanna was in there. Donald Fagen's IGY, What a Beautiful World, was also nominated in that category. So like it was all Survivor could do for Grammys, and it goes up for Best Original Song at the Oscars, but it lost to, do you know?
Is it Up Where We Belong?
Yes, from Officer and a Gentleman by Joe Cocker. Also for that
Jennifer
was
Lawrence. That was
yes,
the other.
that's what it is. How Do You Keep the Music Playing for Best Friends? It Might Be You from Tootsie, and If It Were Love from Yes, Giorgio were also nominated. But it goes on to have not just success, some of the most massive success ever. Like it's records. It's crazy.
Iconic. And here is one of the crazy lesser known facts about Survivor. Frankie Sullivan is one of the guitar players, still active, kind of keeps he's got a really active online presence like Facebook and whatnot. He has always posted pictures of the heyday, but talking about stuff, really engaging with fans, and is in the current lineup of the band that tours. But during this period, the 80s, the cores of Survivor and 38 Special wrote together, and they would write songs for like they would write this song and be like, this is Survivor song. They write this song, this is 38 Special song. And so this like brand of rock that is part of this kind of burgeoning arena rock scene has a nucleus of these guys working together who sound nothing alike other than they're guitar based. And that's kind of a really cool sub note. And then the other crazy thing, so the lead vocalist on Eye of the Tiger is Dave Bickler, who is the original lead singer of Survivor from like 78 to 83. So he leaves the band and goes solo after Eye of the Tiger. Jimmy Jameson becomes the singer and is the singer on all the subsequent hits like High on You, Can't Hold Back, Is This Love, and stuff. But they sound a lot alike.
Yeah.
You wouldn't necessarily know if you didn't know going in that this is two different dudes. Jameson has a little bit more range. Jameson's also the guy that sang the Baywatch theme.
Oh, okay.
But there was a time when Jameson left and Bickler came back, and there was also a time when they did a tour like Van Halen did, where both guys were with the band and like they would take turns singing their songs, and which is awesome. And like Sullivan, for his part, will post pictures of like, oh, this is our brother Dave Bickler. Oh, this is our brother Jimmy Jameson. We miss him because he passed away for and stuff. And it's like, it's weird because those guys seem to genuinely kind of still like each other and stuff, over this long period of time. But man, they're responsible for some really big rock hits, and not just theirs,
right? And
not just.
Well, I think the Chicago rock scene's like kind of overlooked nowadays. How big it was and important. Like, and you
Chicago Cheap Trick was Rockford, but they played in massive success. Sticks. Was Chicago.
And you could be there and do it. You didn't have to go move to New York or LA. You could go to Chicago and make it out of there. Just like Seattle would be in the 90s. But man, the video here is not much. It's them strutting around, acting cool. It's directed,
they look like a gang.
Yeah.
Which, is a good aesthetic for a rock band, right?
Right. I do like how they try to make the dorky Keys member of the band look like a hard ass, like walking down the street. So like that has to be like he's got like the undone button up shirt, the mullet, and the glasses, like wearing the brightest blue jeans on there with the white. Oh, it's hilarious. But, like they're all like in leather. He's got the beret on, and they're and then he comes walking up to join.
That beret was Bickler's signature headgear, whatever. fucking hat. That was his
His
thing.
cap.
But no, the keyboard player is badass. I mean, you can hear him,
Mhm.
prominently on a number of tunes, and but there's so many things right about Eye of the Tiger,
Yeah.
from just the guitar interplay, just the way that the power chords are structured, and kind of
Sounded like a clock, kind of like
Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody knows it. I mean, every
It pumps
person.
everybody. Everybody at least knows the intro of the song, and then it gets in the verse, and people are like, "Eye of the Tiger." Yeah.
Yeah, and it reminds me when the Foo Fighters made the Sound City documentary,
Mhm.
and played a couple of shows with people who are also the documentary, like Rick Springfield. And
Mhm.
the Foos are on stage with Rick Springfield, and he starts into Jesse's Girl, and he just hits the first, and the crowd goes berserk. And Dave Grohl's like, wait a second, wait. How does it feel, Rick, to have written the song that the entire world knows from 1 second?
Yeah.
He's like, how do the other 4 minutes go? But it was like, but this song is exactly like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
There's no mistake. It's sonically not exactly like anything else, which is crazy, because there's a whole lot of early 80s where bands are trying to kind of sound like each other. It
Mhm.
really is, admittedly. Or at least,
Well, there's
oh,
like that
Depeche Mode uses this keyboard, we're gonna use
Cherry
that keyboard
Pie,
too.
Rock You Like a Hurricane. Like it gets to,
Yeah.
gets into becomes a genre of its own. Yeah.
But what's really kind of cool about Survivor is that there is a hard rock authenticity to the song that is not kind of compromised by the artifice of metal that creeps in later.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there are certain bands that subscribe to it more than others. Like, Judas Priest had the leather outfits in a really hilarious way because Rob Alford started wearing them because he frequented leather shops. The rest of the
Right.
band,
Yeah.
like, that's like cool, we're gonna dress like that, and not really getting why. But Survivor looks like a bunch of dudes.
Yeah.
They look like guys that got off work. Like, what a Chicago rock band. It's like, well, I've been working at the L all day. Fuck this. I'm gonna go play keyboards.
Right.
They have an aesthetic appeal, just like the guys in 38 Special look like they just finished their shifts driving trucks or something, and they're like, now we're gonna go rock.
Right.
And it was different. And those guys could be stars.
Mm-hmm.
A few years later, the guys that looked like that would have had a hell of a time being rock stars.
Right. Or they would have had an image they wanted, but some guy, no, we're not gonna dress like that. We're gonna grow your hair out. You're gonna, put this wrestler outfit on. Like that's this jacket.
Yeah. A really good example. I know Into the Great Wide Open by Tom Petty gets a lot of credit for this, but a few years before that, Richard Marx's first big single, Don't Mean Nothing, was all about A&R people and everything trying to shape what you sounded like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of ironic because he had a couple of great rock songs out first of that and should have known better, but then he becomes famous as a ballad guy.
Right. Despite
the fact that he's writing like Edge of a Broken Heart for Vixen and other metal tunes over here. Like, nobody believes that was Richard Marx.
Right.
So you've got the Chicago 38, or the Chicago bands, Survivor and 38 Special are writing songs together, and they're kind of making this whole rock foundation for the early 80s that they kept on having hits, both bands, like all the way through the 80s. And there's a bigger sea change that kind of impacts that stuff later. But
Gotcha.
But yeah, Jameson and doing the Baywatch song is pretty funny. And Bickler is the guy, I think it's Bud Light, the Real Men of Genius ad campaign. He's the singing voice.
Okay.
On that, they did like 100 of those commercials. I'm not exaggerating when I say 100. They did like 100 Real Men of Genius radio commercials.
Dang.
Yeah. So it's that interesting kind of back and forth. But man, in terms of sampleability too. This is used in a lot of hip hop tunes, like We Be Clubbin', is, you know, and it's you'll see those pop up. It's in commercials. It's
it is so popular that they have threatened or taken legal action on political candidates for using it, like Newt Gingrich, Mitt Romney, and Mike Huckabee for using it at political events and rallies.
What could the common denominator be?
I don't understand.
You know, but it's always guys that try to look tough too.
Yep.
They want to play Eye of the Tiger, which, you know, you mentioned this song, but it's never. I am fascinated by the apparent love that Donald Trump has for Gloria by Laura Branigan.
Right.
Like, where the fuck did that ever come from? We need to do a deep dive on that, because I don't understand that at all, and she's too dead to fight about it. But, you know, it's just, where the hell did that come from? I can't imagine she would have been a person that would have been okay with that. But, you know, but it's just, it's funny to me. And, you know, Eye of the Tiger is certainly a song that,
like, you get why you use it at a rally, but
right. But it's also it's interesting in the way that there's a whole lot of songs that are famous for films that do not have a dialogue component that ties it to the song.
Right. It starts to go away, and then in the late 90s, it just becomes throw hits on the soundtrack. And, you know, a lot of times here, at least 5 tracks might be written for a film, and then a bunch of B-sides thrown at them from popular artists.
Yeah. And so, like, Eye of the Tiger is actually a recurring motif in the film when, you know, Apollo's telling Rocky that he used to have the Eye of the Tiger and he's lost it and he's got to get it back. He's using it to pump him up in the last fight with Clubber Lang.
Yeah.
You know, it's a running motif. It's a song that's about something. Whereas, you know, I've had the time of my life as a phrase is never uttered in Dirty Dancing, or Take My Breath Away is never uttered in Top Gun. You know, it's like, just, you know, they are.
Well, the song Take My Breath Away is written about masturbation, used in a sex scene.
Yeah.
Between 2 people.
Well, and that's an episode for another time. How Take My Breath Away killed Berlin, who was an awesome band. Their biggest hit broke up the band this week on Bands Reunited. But yeah,
that happened. It's happened more than once though. That's getting a hit and breaking up right after. That's
well, I think the problem was that's just, you know, slight tangent. The band had a very particular sound, and that song was not their sound, and they got like hugely popular based on a song that wasn't theirs and wasn't their sound, and it caused so much tension that they ripped themselves apart.
Gotcha. Well, that's what I always say, like I think with Pearl Jam, 10's not their sound, versus Metallica, that's more in the wheelhouse of what they sound like. They got really polished into. Same with Nirvana on Nevermind. I think In Utero sounds more like what Nirvana was before they recorded that Nevermind album.
Yeah. There's a great interview with Scott Stapp from Creed, of all people, from about the time of Pearl Jam's 4th album, where, you know, people are talking about the comparisons between him and Eddie Vedder, and he said, well, they've gone in a very different direction than us, which is hook-free music.
Yeah.
And I, like, first of all, that's kind of ballsy to say, but it's so funny because it was true. Like, Yellow Ledbetter is probably one of the most heard rock songs of the last 100 years. Can you tell me 5 words of that song in a row? It's like, the fuck are they? Yeah, I mean,
can I see them?
Yeah, who knows? But in terms of like Survivor having an aesthetic and a sound and everything, this really fixes on it. You know, I mean, you're not going to go to a tremendous amount of other songs and not get elements of this song in the other songs. They're there. Right. This is band identity. It's not a case of, oh shit, we had a chance to get a song on a movie, we're gonna like go in a completely different direction and be someone else. We're gonna, you know, this is aesthetically them, and then, you know, it plays out. In fact, they did lighten up a little bit, get a little bit more keyboard heavy with the success they had with those songs, like High on You and stuff. I mean, which still have good guitar parts, and there's still, where they're a little more on the poppy end of the rock spectrum, and then It Searches Over is just a straight up power ballad,
Yeah.
But this is just, but that wasn't, a slight on them. I mean, that was the formula at the time. That was the shit you had to do to keep getting your songs
Gotta eat
on the radio.
Yeah.
MTV.
I will say the video, I forgot to give the director credit. Victoria Rain Kiriakis. This is it. That's what she did.
That's so weird.
I had the tiger.
Oh man. But yeah, this is indisputable movie soundtrack classic. I mean, indisputable, of its time. So popular. It is really kind of hard to communicate, but I think it's funny that if you were playing one of those YouTube, do kids recognize this song games, they'd know this song.
Yeah, this never left. And it even had that resurgence with the Roy,
which was the actual band.
Roy. Yeah. Get it up, going to work. Like that brought it back when it didn't even need to be back, but it helped it.
Yeah, it was just Survivor. Well, in a couple of months ago, I wrote an article about Flock of Seagulls for the
I remember.
That's another 1982 song that never went away. It was included in the soundtrack of Vice City.
Yes, it was. They sold it on that. Yeah, they sold it with that one.
And that was at that point was 20 years after the song had been out. But it's not like it needed a resurgence. Everybody knew the damn song.
Well, it's funny, like that song was not in the movie Scarface, but you're like, damn, why didn't they put that in Scarface? Like,
yeah,
it goes perfectly with it almost. But.
It would have fit. Yeah, that would be a great episode, Brandon, is like songs that should have been in movies. Like,
we'll do that. We'll do that.
Should have been in particular films.
We need to write down these ideas you have during these because they're good, and then we never do them. So
roll back through. Wait a minute. It was at the 35-minute mark. Troy said.
There we go. Roll back tape. But yeah, so I the tiger. We didn't talk about the video much because there's not much here. They just wander the streets and then they play in front of a glistening, blowy thing, and they're all badass.
That might be a thing for the audience too. Like younger audience members might not think about the fact that at a certain point that was enough.
Yep.
It was novel enough that you were seeing this band, because hell, man, there were a lot of people that didn't know what the bands looked like. If they didn't have a clear photo on the album or the single, you didn't necessarily know what the people you were listening to looked like.
Well, I'm typically a story music video guy, or make some short film type thing with it, not just straight up by playing with. But the guy who does the Summer of 82 at 40 jingles, Pres Maxson, when I've talked to him about music videos, he likes the live ones. He's like, I want to see what these guys got. I want to watch them play. I want to see their, so I'm like, so he likes those music videos better because no messing around. He wants to see that band in action. And I'm like, okay.
You know who typifies that more than just anybody else? AC/DC.
Yeah.
They have a couple of videos that have little narrative threads, but most of the videos are just like, it's AC/DC.
Yep. It's just us doing our thing. And we have done our thing. So, Troy, that'll do it for this week. You'll be back one more time here to close out your run here on the Summer of 82 at 40 music video series. But until then, let people know where they can keep up with you.
Saturday Evening Post, which is SaturdayEveningPost.com, quite cleverly. At Troy Brownfield at Twitter, because at this point I'm back. And then you should check me out on Facebook and Sparkshooter Comic on Facebook, which is my comic about a local band.
All right. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at BrandonPorkyUHD. Have a great weekend, of course, but be back Monday for more Summer of 82 at 40 as Scott and I just keep trucking through. I believe we're into August almost here. Until then, stay film positive.
The Summer of 82 at 40.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. The Summer of 82 at 40 and News of the Moment themes by Pres Maxson. Additional information on this and other episodes at thebrandonpetershow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail@thebrandonpetershow.com. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.